Many of today's wine producers crush the fruit prior to fermentation. However, there are a number of producers who prefer to get a little bit more scientific. In today's video, we're going to take a look at carbonic maceration. Hello and welcome to the Grape Explorer, where we celebrate the world of wine. On this channel we do wine education, product reviews and lots of tastings, so if you're interested in wine, consider subscribing. Now, carbonic maceration is one method of whole bunch fermentation. So rather than crush the grapes when they arrive in the winery ready for fermentation, some producers are actually going to choose to put the entire bunch of grapes into the vat. They're going to seal that vat and cover the vat of berries with CO2. And covering that vat of berries with CO2 is going to allow a process to take place which we call carbonic maceration. What that means is the fermentation of the berries actually occurs inside the berry itself. It's an intercellular process. So rather than the berries being crushed and then ferment taking place with the juice in the vat, it's actually going to take place within the berries itself. And as those berries split, that's how we're going to start to get our wine. And therefore, doing it in this way can cause a number of different effects to the wine. Now, importantly, this is a process that only really takes place with red wine. And one of the effects of doing carbonic maceration in this way is it's actually going to create a softer style of wine. There aren't really going to be the tannins that you might get with a wine that's been crushed prior to fermentation. You're also going to get some particularly interesting flavours. Now, in the case of carbonic maceration on grapes, you can expect to get flavours of kirsch, perhaps banana, and bubblegum is a very popular descriptor when it comes to tasting wines that have been subject to this particular process. Now, there are a number of different regions around the world that choose to make their wine in this way, but far and away there is one region that's much more popular than all of the others, and that would be Beaujolais. The grapes used in Beaujolais are Gamay, and they will have been subject to whole bunch fermentation. So what I've done is I've brought a Beaujolais with me today to go through a tasting and see if we can pick up on any of those carbonic maceration type flavours. So as I take a look at this wine, if we take it through the tasting profile and we take a look at the appearance first, in the case of this wine, this is a pale ruby. And I say pale because I can see right through from top to bottom of this particular glass. It's a really lovely bright ruby colour with a very deeper ruby coloured core, but overall this wine is pale. We'll give it a swirl and we'll see what we can pick up on the nose. It's really interesting, and it's possibly because I've talked about bubblegum, but you genuinely get a bubblegum aroma to this, coupled for me with sort of blackberries, blueberries and some red cherry as well. It's definitely all fruit. Yeah, the more that I say bubblegum actually, the more that it comes through. So you need to kind of imagine those 2p bubblegums that you might have bought from the sweet shop when you were younger. It's that style of bubblegum. I do get some of the kirsch on this one. Like I say, I've got a little bit of cherry. That is actually a kind of kirsch flavour as well. Just spat wine all over my tablecloth. Okay, as expected, the tannins are low. Naturally, it's a dry wine. This red wine is a dry wine. The tannins are particularly low. The acidity is medium to medium plus. It's very nice. For me, the alcohol is quite low as well. On the palate, those fruit flavours that I got on the nose carry over here. So I'm getting blackberry and I'm getting cherry, and that's really nice. I would say that the finish is medium plus on this occasion. I would say it's a medium minus bodied wine. I wasn't expecting a particularly full body, but I would say that this is a medium minus body. I think it's got a really nice finish to it. One of the things that I like about Beaujolais, it's particularly versatile. It can be served lightly chilled, it goes very well with red meats, it goes well with white meats, it goes particularly well with chicken. It also goes well with fish. I know a lot of people don't like to pair red wine with fish, but actually in the case of Beaujolais, it's incredibly versatile and it would go well with all of those things. So if we move to the final stages of tasting and critique this wine, I would say it is particularly balanced. I think the intensity of the aromas matches the intensity on the palate. There's nothing that's out of kilter with anything else. I think the alcohol is low, the tannins are low, the acidity is medium, so that's all in particular balance. It does have a nice length about it. I think those carbonic maceration type flavours have come through. There is some intensity. That bubblegum flavour that I talked about, it is quite prominent in this particular wine, but it isn't necessarily a complex wine. But I would say at the price point, this was £7.50, that this is a very good wine, and I would absolutely recommend Beaujolais to anyone who's interested in trying something perhaps they haven't tried before. Over to you though, who's tried Beaujolais? What do you think? What do you think about carbonic maceration as a process? Is it something you're familiar with, something you're aware of? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm the Grape Explorer, and I look forward to tasting with you again soon. Cheers.